All right, it is our video roundtable segment time here on Three Dog Thursday. And if you're only hearing the podcast, say it all the time, come find us on the YouTube page. You see what we look like with my guests. So again, if you're only listening through Sports Gambling Podcast network of shows, sportsgamblingpodcast.com, or if you found us through a social media link on Apple Podcast, Spotify, come see what we look like on the YouTube page. And without delay, let me introduce my cohorts, my colleagues. There's going to be a real South Florida tinge to all of this, even though he's in New York. My man, Ari Russell, my wingman from my days at SiriusXM, TuneIn, etc. He's in New York. We're going to duke it out over the Yankees and the Rays coming up. But Coach Ari, good to have you here on the roundtable.
Technically, I'm in Edgewater, New Jersey. I don't want to anger the New Yorkers out here because there is that demarcation of the Hudson River that you really have to make clear because folks don't play around. So, and I get it. Being from D.C. and Maryland, Virginia, I get that. So, out of respect, I'm in Edgewater. Edgewater, New Jersey, currently.
You do have to notify the New York authorities when you do cross the river and come into
both back and forth, both sides.
Yes. Chris Fischer also with me in South Florida, you multimedia star, longtime sportscaster in Tampa Bay, in Miami. How you feeling down in South Florida?
Oh, feeling great at this point. You know, we got a big game this weekend. Canes, Clemson. Looking forward to that one. My hometown Buccaneers are looking pretty good. So are the Rays after the win. So it's always good to see.
Yes, there is a lot that we have to go over and discuss. And why don't we hop right into it again here on the video for those of us, for those that are seeing us right now. Let's talk right away about this showdown. The Miami Hurricanes, the Clemson Tigers. The audience might or might not know this. Ari Russell, a Miami alum. Chris, obviously in Miami, in South Florida. Okay, to you first, Ari. Your guys, I've seen them twice in person on national radio, handle Louisville and demolish Florida State.
Right.
How good do they look to you? And then second part is obviously what kind of chance against Godzilla Saturday night?
Well, obviously, I mean, if you compare what they were like last year, I mean, it's night and day on every level. You know, from the coaching to the play calling to the players out there. You know, even though they've got a lot of the same players returning, especially on defense. Obviously, the difference. I really think the difference this year is King at quarterback. I mean, I think Miami actually has an actual steady person at center now, behind center, than they've had probably since Ken Dorsey. I mean, let's be honest with you here. I mean, if you look at it, we suffered through mediocrity at best over the years. You know, a couple flashes here. I think Brad Kaya was pretty good, but I think that King brings it to the next level. He's clearly a leader, and you could tell that he's already got the locker room on lock. Like, he's already got that
slightly better than Malik Rozier at this point. Just
oh my gosh.
Rozier. It's Rozier.
Right.
Rozier.
Yeah.
It's
Whatever it
also exit stage left for him. They couldn't hold the door for him fast enough.
I mean, and even Perry, I mean, Perry has tremendous amount of talent, but King just comes in there and you can just tell he's the leader. He's a leader of the team already. You know, and Chris, you're down there. You see it probably more. You hear about it more often than I do up here. I have to, you know, kind of scavenge the web to find things. And you down there, people talk about it all the time. So yeah, am I impressed with the difference between last year? Of course I am. As a fan, absolutely. Analyzing it in general, you have to say, objectively speaking, it's worlds better than they were last year. I mean, this is a team that lost to FIU and to Louisiana Tech, got shut out by Louisiana Tech. Yes. I mean, and now they beat Florida State. You know, Florida State is diminished clearly. So, I mean, I'm give or take that. I mean, to still drop 500, you know, on Florida State and the biggest blowout in the history of that rivalry, regardless, Florida State is really at rock bottom right now, I think. But still, it's impressive. UAB was a good win, and they really demolished Louisville. Is also a good team. You know, now it's against, like you said, Clemson. This is a different story. I mean, you're talking about you're going up. This is like going from the Gulf Coast Instructional League to the major leagues over a weekend. You know,
okay.
All right. So now
Let's
enough of
Ari
pontificating.
The breaks there.
Give me the lowdown, Chris Fischer, because you're close to it about this Miami resurgence. Rhett Lashley, the new offensive coordinator. Tell me more about all of it.
That's where I was going to go with this, because as much as I like De'Ara King so far, and you got to remember, this is pretty outstanding. Kyle Trask, who's in the Heisman talk at this juncture, King's not quite there yet. But Kyle Trask was the backup to De'Ara King in high school, which really speaks highly of just the value and the presence of De'Ara King, not only in high school, but into college. Now with his second school, was at Houston, transfers over to the University of Miami, and he has been fantastic. But that's because of Rhett Lashley and what he's been able to do offensively in this up-tempo offense that really went out and stormed the gates against Florida State and Louisville and everything else. I think Dabo is going to be ready for that when they walk into Death Valley in Clemson. But here's another thing, guys. I don't think really a lot of attention is being played to. The fact that they're playing during a pandemic, Death Valley will not be Death Valley at night. If you've ever – and TJ, I believe you've been there, but Death Valley at night is haunting. The place shakes. It's incredible when you're on the field. I don't think the Canes have to feel that fear walking in there. And I love Nesta Silvera since I've covered him in high school at American Heritage. That guy brings all sorts of nasty to that defensive line. They're going to be missing Greg Russo, who pulled out prior to the year. He was expected to be a top 10 pick. This is the game they're going to miss him the most in getting after Trevor Lawrence. But I think the Canes defense, Blake Baker and Manny Diaz are coordinating a good game plan to go out and get Clemson in their house on Saturday night. Clemson is a 2-touchdown favorite at this point. I like them for 6. I wouldn't say 2 touchdowns. I think they end up covering. But this is a big game for the Canes because I don't think it's a case – this is their biggest game in years. You can go back to the Notre Dame game, the Virginia game at Hard Rock Stadium at night.
Right.
I think it's much, much bigger than that, obviously being ranked as high as they are. But I do believe that they'll be in this game. I think De'Ara King puts them in this game. Brevin Jordan could have a big game in this one. And Cameron Harris has been running like a maniac. So if they decide to slow down the clock and go ground and pound, which would be shocking with Lashley's offense. But I think the Canes cover, and I think it's not a blowout. And I think they prove something to the nation that the Canes are making their way back.
Yeah.
Voice there of Chris Fischer. If you're only hearing us, come find us on the YouTube page. Ari Russell is already here with me as well. And I promise we're going to move on off the Miami game, but it's the biggest game of the weekend. And is it not fair? Quick comment from both of you. When that Miami team got into the top 4 of the college football playoff, as Chris was referencing at the end of the 2017 season, they faltered quickly, and I don't think anybody, and maybe even them, really believed they were as good as Clemson, and Clemson destroyed them in the ACC championship game. I don't know if they can win Saturday night, but I have to believe, guys, they believe they are worthy of being in this game and can compete with Clemson even on the road. Ari, you first, then Chris.
Well, I definitely think they can compete, and I think it has to go. I think you could tell the confidence as Chris was, alluding to, or not alluding to, but focusing on earlier, was Lashley and the way that they're executing their offense. Clearly, they're bought in. Clearly, they have the quarterback that's able to run that system pretty much to a T. Lashley is dealing with a veteran adult at quarterback, which is important, and I don't think they're going to be intimidated. And I think that they're actually excited to get up for the challenge. And previous years, we've been hearing this as Canes fans for the last, decade and a half. Are we back? Are we back? And we ain't never been back. We haven't been back. Again, it's hard to be back, If we beat Clemson, yes, we can start saying, yes, they're back in the mode, because I think that they go over the hump. I think that Notre Dame victory was smoke and mirrors. I don't think that Notre Dame team was really that particularly good. I think, again, Notre Dame is just kind of being Notre Dame, often always gets ranked higher just for existing almost, in my opinion. They wiped the doors clean of them. That was great. A home game, fine. Rivalry. We've always had bad blood, Catholic versus the convicts, but clearly that team was deficient, and Clemson just showed themselves in that ACC championship that year, how the gap, I think that gap has gone a lot thinner, but also because Clemson, has players that graduate and have, they still have a bunch of, I know they've got, Lawrence and the running back, and a great defense, but Miami's got veterans too. And there's one player that I wanted to point out that I think could possibly be the difference maker, and that's Bubba Bolden at the safety position, who is really showing himself to be one of the best safeties in the country, not just in the ACC, but in the country. His biggest test in his career is going to be on Saturday night against that Clemson wide receiver core. He's going to have a huge game and make big plays in order for them to win. It's that type of game. It could be a turnover here or there,
right,
and that's it.
Mr. Fisher, do they mentality-wise, you're in South Florida, do they believe they belong here and can be on the field with Clemson? What do you sense?
Okay, so if you went, Ari can speak to this and testify to this. If you went to University of Miami, they know better. They know that this team is not all the way back.
Yes.
Now, the fans of Miami, they always believe that Miami's back, okay, until they want to fire the head coach. What's crazy about Miami and South Florida is this is a Canes town. We have 4 pro sports teams, but it is a Canes town. The Dolphins take a back seat to the Canes when they're good. The Heat will take a back seat to the Canes when they're good. This game could put them over the hump. My dishes were very excited about that. But
okay.
They will put them over the hump and be back on the front page where Canes fans expect them to be if they're able to win Saturday night. And I agree with your assessment of Bubba Bolden. Look for Phillips. The guys from the transfer portal that Manny Diaz has grabbed over the last 2 years, this is the biggest game they've played since they've been 5-star recruits coming out of high school, and it's really going to be an interesting one.
All right. We've done enough on Miami and Clemson, and as you can tell, both guys, I'm kind of in agreement here. Of course, we're almost 3 Musketeers, and then watch Clemson win the game by 30 because they've been doing this to everybody. But Miami, on both sides of the ball, stacks up well enough if they don't make mistakes to stay in the game. I don't know that they win the game, but to stay in the game against Lawrence and company, we will see, and it's obviously a big national television game as well. All right. For those that are seeing us on the YouTube page, I'm in the Rays hat for this segment just to needle Ari Russell here a little bit because we got the Rays and the Yankees that are ongoing in the divisional series of the American League playoffs. First of all, it is an absolute joke that the Rays and the Yankees are playing in San Diego, California. It's ridiculous in and of itself. We're seeing a highlight on the video here of Manuel Margot hitting a home run. Last night, home runs were flying out at the time that we're taping in the Tuesday night Game 2. Wednesday night is Game 3. We obviously don't know that result. The series will not be over by the time this podcast is out because somebody's got to win 3 times. So that may be coming Thursday night for whoever it is. All right, Ari, Yankees, Rays. Give me a few moments on this now that the Rays evened it up at a game apiece.
Well, first off, I think Aaron Boone handed a beautiful gift to Tampa Bay, the Tampa Rays here, and I just don't understand, and I understand they kind of took it from the Tampa Bay ideology of having a game opener or whatever the heck that is. It's just something that I just don't quite understand, especially in playoff baseball. It's just very strange. It's your throw. I just don't understand. It doesn't fit I can understand during the regular season for kind of getting people in motion and getting people to understand the energy to start. But for playoff baseball, which is a completely different monster, putting in the starter, just let Garcia pitch, or let Happ pitch, make a decision on someone and go from there and live or die by it. And in this case, it just seems like, Garcia came in there, he got out of the first inning, and he basically was able to, I don't know, and then Happ comes in there and people, Yankee fans are complaining about the strike zone, blah, blah, blah. Look, he gave up big taters to
yes, he did.
Tampa. And, in moments that was really just.
How about the fact, just if I can interject, Happ didn't even really know what they were doing till like 2 hours before the game. So that's a bit strange, too, to your point about Boone kind of making it up as he goes along. All right.
Yeah, it's if you heard some of the post game by Happ, you could tell that that Happ was definitely, holding back, I think, on some of he was trying to basically cover his manager's rear end. I don't know if you guys saw that because, Dan, but here we get the local feed. So we see happen. And I'm sure they probably put it on national TV as well. But, he was definitely doing a really good job, as veterans do, of protecting the manager's rear end there. But you could kind of sense in him that he just was a little confused himself. Like, look, you guys are a great squad. You guys are the number 1 seed in this weird kind of bizarro playoff scenario we have in 2020, in a weird bizarro kind of universe we're all living in. But it was just bizarre in general. And I get it, pitching staffs and whatever, trying to with 5 games in a row, which is another weird playoff scenario. But I think Aaron Boone handed you guys a gift, and you guys opened it and took advantage of it, and you were a great team.
It's a game apiece. Chris Fischer, you were nodding along with me about why is this in San Diego? It's crazy to me.
Well, first off,
and then the teams are only there for the one series, and then let's move them to Texas. If the whole idea was to keep it sanitary or a bubble, send everybody to one place and play the games in one place would make a lot more sense. But anyway, Chris, I'm stealing thunder. Go ahead. Give me your thoughts.
I mean,
I like that idea.
Like the World Baseball Classic, which we've had here in Miami, which is just amazing. And then to speak to Ari's point, TJ, I hate to say it, I'm from Tampa Bay, and if the Yankees were to play a playoff game in what I still call the Thunderdome, but Tropicana Field,
right,
it would be a Yankee home game, and that's the problem. Even with the Rays in the playoffs, I love my hometown. There would be a lot more support, but it would feel like a Yankee playoff game. We've seen it there over the years. Even the Red Sox were there a couple of years ago. But with that being said, I love the fact of what Tampa Bay is doing. I love that Aaron Boone tried to take a page out of Tampa Bay's book last night. I've always been a fan of Jay Happ when he pitched for the Phillies, but he had to hold back, and I don't want to belabor that point, but I just find this whole series fascinating when you're talking about the payroll dynamic of these two clubs and the analytics. Let's be honest. Aaron Boone is about as good of a manager as us sitting on the couch, because Brian Cashman is telling him who to put out there, and the analytics department is telling him who to put out there as a starting pitcher. So obviously Jay Happ didn't come through on their spreadsheet as the guy to face that Rays lineup last night. Also, I think with the scare factor with Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge and Sanchez and all these guys, that this little team in Tampa Bay could beat the juggernaut Yankees, that has to fright the hell out of Yankee fans. Brian Cashman, the Steinbrenner's ownership group, the smaller payroll team coming up, and it's been a perpetual storyline for years, like the Oakland A's, these smaller teams beating the juggernauts. But with the New York City tabloids and all the different papers up there, that's really going to just kill the Yankees front office if the Rays are able to pull this off and knock them off. And I do like the Rays in this series because I think there's a fear factor here. Giancarlo Stanton's hitting the hell out of the ball. I've seen that firsthand when he was on a tear here in Miami, and he doesn't cool off for a while when that seemingly happens. But rolling out Charlie Morton in Game 3, I think that is going to be a huge benefit for the Rays against Tanaka. I expect them to be up 2-1 in this series. I expect them to win it in a full stretch. And it's going to go the distance this series, I believe.
Interesting.
But I think that the Rays end up winning it just because they play proper baseball. If they got to put down a bunt, although it goes against analytics, they'll put down a bunt. The Yankees are a straight-up swing trajectory team that's told with Sanchez, and as much as he strikes out, Giancarlo has that same problem. So when he's cold, but right now he's seeing the ball so well. and like even with Fairbanks struggling last night in the ninth, when the Yankees seemingly could have came back with all that power, but he blew him away, and he was able to get out of it. I think the Rays bullpen is going to be their savior, and I think they end up moving on in this series.
Okay,
I can't disagree with what Krabby, like, honestly, it's the Rays have that scrappy lineup that just I'm with you. Like, I'm not a big fan of this analytics stuff. I just think that at the end of the day, it's overthinking. It's the play on the field and the moment of the, pitch by pitch, and not, the spreadsheets and the sabermetrics or whatever it is. At the end of the day, players have to play and they have to show up. And the Rays, I mean, like, I was impressed last night. They because that Game 1 was really, that was a tough loss. They took it on the chin. They came back and turned around, last night. Granted, we'll see what to me, I agree. Boone to me is really gonna, like, if the Yankees lose this series, I can't see Boone surviving. I mean, granted, it's hard because welcome to your worlds, right?
Welcome to New York.
I hate this. Being a Philadelphia fan and seeing that Rocky Balboa poster, him against the world. That's the way the Rays are. They have felt that way for a long time.
Wait. Pan that camera a little over your right shoulder just so we get a better look. There's Rocky right there.
And
Philadelphia born. There we go.
What?
Beautiful.
Once it's all wrapped up, this series, I expect you to go put Kevin Cash over Rocky's head with his feet in the air.
Well, and the other thing, and again, we'll move along here, but we're talking a little baseball with Chris Fischer and Ari Russell. Again, if you're only hearing us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or however you found the show, the audio version of the podcast, come find the YouTube version and see what we look like with the moving pictures on all of this. Again, we're talking in the aftermath of Game 2. Game 3 is being played before the podcast is out. So you, the audience, already know what happened in Game 3. We don't know. And I am predicting there will be fireworks of hit batsmen, dust up. Watch it happen. There's bad blood between these two teams. It may not be Game 3. It may be Game 3. It may be Game 4. Let's see what happens between these two teams.
Stanton is definitely getting plunked. There's no question.
Stanton has been doing some posing, and they may do it to him. If it was me personally, I would not do it to Aaron Judge, who's built like a defensive tackle. So it would not be him that I would be hitting. But let's see what happens, because Chapman was throwing at the head of some Rays at Yankee Stadium earlier back in August. So there's still bad blood between these two teams and a lot to watch on that. While we have a moment, I'm always pimping Ari Russell's Smack Apparel and my guys at Smack Apparel. So I've got the Rays hat on, but I've got the Smack Apparel shirt. If you're a Rays fan, that if I don't often hate, but if I do, I prefer to hate the Yankees and the Red Sox from our friends at Smack Apparel. So you can get great Smack Apparel merchandise, just like what I've got on here. Go to smackapparel.com. Get in the face of your opponent, your biggest rival. Make fun of them. Smackapparel.com. Buy it through the site. Use the promo code 2020 BOGO. 2020 BOGO is the promo code. That means you buy one, you get one 50% off. So 2020 BOGO is the promo code that still works on any of their stuff. They've got the socially distancing Aaron Judge home run shirt you can get. He's been socially distancing home run balls since 2016. So whatever it is, football, baseball, the Lightning Stanley Cup playoff shirts, it is 2020 BOGO for 2020 the year, and buy one, get one 50% off for smackapparel.com. So I get in a little plug there with that. All right, couple more subjects. I promised these guys we would get out of here fairly quickly. Let's go back to the NFL. Chris and Ari, you know this. I am associated with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their radio broadcast, and have been for the better part of 15 years with the Hall of Famer Gene Deckerhoff on the call. And lo and behold, looky here, the Bucs have won 3 in a row, and Tom Brady is the offensive player of the week in the NFC. Now, again, at the time that we're taping and Three Dog Thursday is released, Buccaneers, Bears, Thursday night, Soldier Field. Fox and the NFL Network will televise it all over the country. So we add that to the mix of the baseball playoffs, of the college football. We've got Bucs and Bears kicking off the NFL weekend. Brady, 5 touchdown passes to 5 different receivers last week. And suddenly the national media changing its tune. I'm saying this after the loss to the Saints in week 1. Brady looks much better. The Bucs have won 3 in a row. But that's me saying that. Chris, let's go to you first. What about Brady and the Buccaneers as they've completed 1 quarter of the season?
Well, I'd have to be impressed with the fact that they seemingly are a second-half team. And a lot of teams that are able to come back like that really show a lot of poise. And I think that speaks to the leadership of Tom Brady and guys like Gronk, Shady McCoy, some of the veteran leadership that resides on that offense. But as they go along here, I expect their offense actually to get better. As you know, working within Byron Leftwich's offense, it's going to take time for Tom to get things down. He doesn't have his normal players. Him and Gronk seemingly aren't on the same page as of yet, like they used to be. And then the big thing I always wondered about was Gronk. As much time as he spent away from the game, taking that year off, was he always there because he was injured? How much back is he to what he was years ago? And I think that's drastically dropped off. But I like where the offense is at. It'd be nice to get Chris Godwin back, Mike Evans healthy, some of those players. And then going, playing the Bears this week, I mean, they're in shambles. Nick Foles, he's great off the bench, and I'm an Eagles fan. And I love Nick Foles, obviously. But the fact that he's just unable to be a starter and he struggles in that role, the Bears are really spinning their wheels right now, despite that comeback 2 weeks ago. Foles showed he was unable to do it last weekend. I like the Bucs going into this matchup, and I honestly believe that, it sets things up, because if they do it in a shortened week, then they're going to be able to get it all together in a week and a half before their next game. I think Brady's going to be fine there. I think they're going to end up winning the NFC South.
Well, and just one quick note on the schedule. It's going to get much tougher after the Bears, because after that 10-day layoff, it's the Packers at home, go to Vegas and play the Raiders, which won't be easy. Then the likes of, oh, by the way, Mahomes in Kansas City, if all things are equal, Saints in a rematch on a Sunday night, Rams on a Monday night. All right, Buccaneers coming to New York to play the Giants in the middle of that on Monday Night Football. That might be the easiest game, though, out of a whole group an onslaught of games that are going to be much tougher right now for the Bucs to try to figure this out. Again, Ari, you're at a distance here. Give me a thought on Brady and the Bucs and a work in progress, just real quick.
Well, luckily, since we had a Thursday night Jets game, we weren't in the New York area. We weren't plagued with having both the Jets and Giants on Sunday, so we had a chance to watch the Tampa Bay game. So I got a chance to watch. I saw the first game also. It was on here too. And I was impressed. I really thought that it's starting to click. You're starting to see it. It's getting there. It's a work in progress. But I think that it's a work in progress in a good way. And, this is a good team. Brady clearly doesn't need Belichick. You can see that. This last game is Brady looked like he was 33 again. And he looked great. He was hitting receivers in stride. I really like your running game a lot. I like what you have going on there too for right now, even though everyone's injured, it seems. But, I agree. I agree with Chris. I think that they have a really good chance of winning the South here. Granted, it's a good year to win the South, I think. But I think it's looking pretty good, even though their schedule is tough.
It's them and the Saints.
Forget
and
the
rematch
Falcons
is
are
coming.
just a mess.
And the Panthers have a first-year coaching staff. Yes.
Right, and I don't think the Saints are as good as they have been in the past. They haven't been playing as well, and they're usually a second-half team anyway. But I mean, I just think look, I really like Arians as a head coach, and I'm as a DC guy. Leftwich is we love Byron Leftwich because he's a DC public school kid. He went to H.D. Woodson. We love Leftwich, So and so we want to see him succeed, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on with you guys, and I think it's a good year. And who knows? The NFC is pretty weak. Obviously you got one division that might as well get relegated to the Canadian Football League at this point.
Come on now.
I'm a Giants fan, so
that's right.
So you're talking
the Giants, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Redskins. Are they combined going to get to 20 wins this season?
I think the winner of that division
like it
is going to have 6 wins.
Might. It's not pretty there for the NFC. We've got a scoot here in a moment or two. Hey, Chris, just a quick comment from you. Ryan Fitzpatrick still playing for the Dolphins. Dolphins slated to play the 49ers this weekend. How long before we see Tua, the number 1 pick out of Alabama? So much hype around him. How long will they wait? What are you hearing? What do you think? Just real quick.
Well, Brian Flores said on Wednesday morning that Tua is not ready yet. And he's always been a proponent of sticking with a veteran. We saw it last season when it came to Josh Rosen. I know Tua is a completely different quarterback than Rosen. But the big pressure really now becomes it's not just the local media that is pressing for Tua to get gameplay. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions so far going into the showdown against San Francisco 49ers. 49ers favored in some books by 8.5, off the board in some of the other ones. But I think he's going to stick with Fitzpatrick at least through the bye week to see where it goes. The Dolph fans, as they like to call them, it's like they have a shiny new gift on Christmas or Hanukkah. They want to play with it with Tua. That's what Tua is to them. But and Flores has pretty much come out and said this. If you're Tagovailoa's family, do you want him playing this season coming off the hip injury? I sure wouldn't. I know it doesn't come down to his family, but I think the Dolphins don't want him playing this season to protect and give him more time to heal.
Hasn't he been cleared to play?
Yes.
But they don't want him to play at all.
Right. So here's the thing. They want the insurance. He's having a red shirt year is the way I look at it. And that's the way I would have approached it from the beginning. This is, it's not Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers waiting to play behind him kind of situation. It's Fitzpatrick. But the Dolphins aren't going anywhere. They're 1-3 right now. Okay? They're not going to win the division. That expectation's out the window, even though Brian Flores won't admit it. I would prepare for the future. If I'm Chris Greer, the general manager, I'm just like, look, let him practice. Let him sit there with the clipboard. Let him learn. But don't let him play unless Fitzpatrick's injured. And that's the only way I'd play.
I disagree. Sooner or later, you got to play him. And if he's not healthy enough to play at all.
Because it works so well for Jameis Winston. It works so well for him, TJ.
Well,
I did that game on the sideline with Marcus Mariota and Winston. And I got to tell you, both even showed right away that they weren't ready. Give Tagovailoa some time. Let him learn the system. Remember, they brought in Chan Gailey as a first-year offensive coordinator let him get used to it. I understand Nick Saban loves this kid, but just let him get used to the situation.
I can understand if there's a legitimate medical reason why you would say, hey, that's a real risk. But from what I understood, he's cleared to try it. And at some point, if you're 1-5, if you're 2-7, you have to try it. They're going to go out of their mind if they don't play him if they're that bad later in the year, November, December.
I completely agree. They're going to win more games, but I do want to say this. It's a liability behind that offensive line.
That may be the case, too. Okay, we've got to scoot here in a moment or two. Let me promote these guys as well. You can find Chris Fischer on social media, Chris Fischer 07. There he is, speaking of doing sideline work for CBS, as he has in the past. He's been down in South Florida as a sportscaster, Tampa Bay area, also in Pennsylvania. Chris Fischer 07 to follow him. Follow my man Ari Russell, at Ari Russell on social media, on Twitter, and also on Facebook. I want to say congratulations to Ari and his girlfriend, and there is the baby, and the baby's name, for the record, in the Yankee Rays rivalry, the baby's first name is
Bronx.
Bronx is the baby's name, which I love.
That's awesome.
I love baby
so
Bronx.
Yeah.
I love that. So
My
congratulations, Ari,
Soundview, so.
on the baby. And by the way, I wanted to try to tell the story here. One of the craziest nights that Ari and I have ever had, because we had Barry Switzer on earlier on the podcast, OU in Texas this weekend. And Ari, I cannot believe it was 13 years ago that we were at Barry Switzer's surprise 70th birthday party in Dallas the night before the OU Texas game. He was doing work with us on Sirius XM. His wife, Becky, surprised him. We were hanging there. I'm going to share the screen. We were hanging out with the likes, you're going to see it here, of Toby Keith, of Jerry Jones, his former players, Little Joe Washington, Keith Jackson. You and I were standing next to Toby Keith at the bar at the restaurant where the surprise party was, talking to Toby Keith about playing tunes and watching the Yankees playoff baseball game. It's Ari, me, and TK.
That was the Cleveland game where they had like those locust plagues that came in. And
yeah, it was the Jabba Chamberlain game against the Indians, right, where all that happened. But there's nothing like iconic images like this. There he is, Barry Switzer, the OU Texas game, coming out of the tunnel at the Cotton Bowl. There'll be no fans there for this game on Saturday, or at least limited fans if that's the case. But love Barry Switzer, and what a wild night to be at his surprise
I'm still
party.
hungover from that, by the way.
That was some kind of night. We're standing there, Chris. I'm not just pimping away here on we're more important than everybody else. But you feel about this big when you're standing around Barry Switzer, Toby Keith's right here, and then right over on the side of the bar, Jerry Jones is talking to Clay Bennett, the multi-billion-dollar owner of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Who didn't belong in that circle between Ari and me while all that was going on? But
some of the Super Bowl parties, I felt the same way this year.
When you were around the Super Bowl parties back in February in Miami, I bet. A lot of fun with that. Again, find Chris on social media at Chris Fischer 07. Find Ari Russell at Ari Russell on social media as well. Guys, I had fun on the YouTube Roundtable. Good luck to the Hurricanes, Coach Ari, for this matchup here with Clemson. We'll see how they do. Chris, keep knocking them dead. South Florida, and with the sports broadcasting that you're doing. Thank you, guys, here on Three Dog Thursday.
Take care, TJ. Thank you.
Great stuff from them. Brian Edwards rejoins me to talk more NFL straight ahead as the podcast rolls on.